Hello, friends. Welcome to this September 11th, 2025 episode of the Kingsman and the Cyber Guy podcast. As you can see, we are absent the Kingsman currently. He is traveling. He went to a conference in Birmingham, I believe, over the last couple of days, and he's traveling back. Hopefully, he'll be here before we close out this particular episode. But this is a special episode. This is an even week for us, so this is going to be bringing in someone from the cybersecurity profession and talk about what it is they do, why they do it, and why it's important to cybersecurity as a whole. So let's get right into that, because I'm honored to have on for her as her first route as a podcaster, or at least a guest on a podcast, from the Coding Temple, Ruta Kuisyte. I did it wrong, didn't I? Pronounced it. Was I close?
You're one out of 9 out of 10 people who actually get it wrong, but it's absolutely fine. My name is Ruta, and it's my pleasure to be here, Darren. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we met a couple. This is like our fifth or sixth time talking. We met a couple months ago where I came to speak to your students at the Coding Temple about careers in cybersecurity and the FBI, and I was there with my good friend Paige Hansen. We had a good conversation. So tell us first a little bit about. Let's talk about your background first before we get into Coding Temple. So what got you into the cybersecurity world here? Tell us a little bit about where you came from. Where are you from? Where are you now? How'd you get to where you're at?
Of course. So I have lots of experience in customer service, in operations, and education. And over the last couple of years, I've actually entered into a tech space, into edtech space in particular, where I've been just thriving of looking after student experience of students who are going through our Coding Temple's courses. So, a Coding Temple, we prepare tech professionals for their future careers, particularly the people who want to pivot from various different backgrounds and they want to enter into the tech space. So, one of our strongest performing courses is exactly cybersecurity. So with some motions like general courses with workshops and in particular tech residency, about which I'll speak a little bit later about, we prepare those professionals for their cybersecurity careers.
Cool. And how do you find I guess the question is, how do people find it, right? If you're in an industry and you're like, I'm kind of tired of this, I want to go into cybersecurity, because obviously there's a job shortage, because all the news say that there's a job shortage. So how do I find you, or how do people find you?
Generally, people Google something like how to get into tech career, how to get into cybersecurity, or boot camp for cybersecurity. Because obviously, there's a few different routes how people could actually get into it. One of the routes is going to university, to getting some kind of computer degree, and then from IT or computing degree going into cybersecurity. So that's the long route. But if you want to get into a cyber career faster and not just learn the theoretical side of it, but also get a lot of hands-on practice and complete the course not in years but in just a few months, then generally people tend to go for a bootcamp solution. And just like that, Google Coding Temple.
And that's a good question, right? Because a lot of people will say, well, it's better off to get a degree, and people say it's better off to get certifications. What do you find what do your students find when they try to get out into the workforce? What are employers looking for?
Well, so that's a very good question. This is literally something that I think about every single day, every single week. At Coding Temple, I look after student journey from the very beginning, when they sign the contract, throughout their program, through tech residency, which is 8-week hands-on program, and then when they get into the career side, when they start looking for jobs. Now, on that career side, to be honest, people in cybersecurity, the very beginners, they do struggle to find jobs. They struggle to find jobs because they think that once I get a cybersecurity degree, I'm going to go right into 3-figure salary job right away, and I'm going to be this cybersecurity professional responsible for the whole enterprise cybersecurity. That's not necessarily how the journey looks like. And we also all the time speak to employers. We create a lot of partnerships with different companies, and we try to figure out so why is it that junior talent struggles to find those jobs? What is it that cybersecurity professionals have to get into those roles? And a lot of the time, what we find that people need to start their journey from exactly like IT kind of roles. And the biggest thing that hiring managers are looking for right now is a lot of experience. Now, that experience is obviously, it takes time to get. And with how quickly the whole tech space has grown right now, with the catalyst of AI being in the field, every single company getting onto cloud systems and all things like that. And of course, they need to build out the infrastructure to be resistant to attacks and to make sure it's protected from all of that. But the demand is too high for the current supply of experienced talent, and that's when you got to find a solution that doesn't only deliver the actual theoretical knowledge, but gives you spaces to practice. So the practical experience is the element that is missing, between the entry level talent and people who are looking to onboard cybersecurity specialists.
Well, I think the other problem is people don't know what they want, right? They need someone to do cybersecurity, but what does that look like? If you're asking HR to create me a job profile for a cybersecurity analyst, the HR person doesn't know what that means, and chances are the people who want to hire the people don't necessarily know what that means. So it's hard for them to even post a job with the right requirements because they don't know what the requirements are.
Oh, absolutely. And this is a problem we also get into when we're trying to even land partnerships. We go to that depends who you go to exactly. If you manage to speak to someone who's in HR, you know that chances are they're probably not even going to know a lot of time what you have to offer and how important that is, right? Because we speak to them about the different frameworks that we get our students to work with, the different systems they build stuff out, the virtual machines, the hands-on practice, the labs, but that tells nothing for that person in the middle. So a lot of time you have to try to get over that person and speak to someone who is going to be working with that person every day. Now, just like you say, the challenge is a lot of companies don't even have the person who knows what they're talking about. So then firms like, well, our partnerships side of business, we then need to take on a bit more of a consultative approach and actually guide those companies through exactly what is it that they need to look for. How do they even start building out all of these systems?
And how do you, so I guess I had a question. I just lost it. I had a good question there too. Okay. So yeah, what do you find that most of your students are getting for that first job? Like what currently in the industry, if you look at the bulk of companies that are looking for cybersecurity people, like what is that? Is it a SOC analyst? Is it a risk analysis person? What is it companies think they're looking for?
So what are the companies looking for?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm more like what are your students finding as that what is the foot in the door job that they seem to be getting?
Yeah, foot in the door job more times than not is IT and networking specialist.
Okay.
Yeah, or IT support. This is where they begin, and from then, because we continue speaking to our alumni and we get our alumni involved into all of the different activities supporting our future alumni and so on and so on. So we hear from our alumni that once they get that foot in the door, what happens a lot of the time, they get to know the company, they get to know the people they work with, and they start injecting themselves into various different other parts of the business. When it comes to cybersecurity, they talk to people who work there about what their capabilities actually are, and then they start doing little jobs, and that is essentially kind of an on-the-job trial before you even get a job. And that's when you establish yourself as, one, knowing the company, two, knowing the industry, and three, then being able to actually demonstrate to your leadership team what you're actually capable of. And that's when people get trust, and that's when they get hired, because obviously in this role, trust is very, very essential.
Yeah, I think that's something I even said to your students when I was on, because I think someone asked a similar question, like what job should I get into? I said, take whatever job you can get. And then when you're there, when people say, hey, can someone help us with this? Volunteer to do that. Volunteer to do that. I ran a security operations center. We had everything: forensics, incident response, SOC analysts, threat engineers, all that kind of stuff. And people we had a lot of entry level people who were just out of college or just out of the military and looking for a job. And so I said, hey, what do you want to do? What is and they all say pen tester. Everybody wants to be a pen tester. I think that's like the magical super job. I get to break into places and do all the cool stuff. And I'm like, look, you might want to sit with the pen testers and see if it's really something you want. So try a little bit of everything and become knowledgeable of everything, and then figure out, because I mean, I guess this is a separate question, but how many certificates do they come out of your organization with, or are they just eligible to start taking certification tests? How does that methodology work for you guys?
Yes. So the initial one and everything that our students work towards in the first 6 months of their program, and the whole program is 6 months, they get themselves ready for Security Plus certification.
Hmm.
At the end of so throughout the program, we prepare the theory, the ACI labs, and all these other hands-on activities. We prepare them for that. Then they get the certification. Then some students will also have an opportunity to enroll into certified ethical hacking specialization. This is another one that we offer. Now, after graduation, there's another key element that is not a certification as such, but is something that really helps students stand out. And most importantly, give them real life like experience and ability to go into any company and know what they're doing already. Now, this is a lot of something that a lot of boot camps or none of the boot camps that I know offer. We call that tech residency. And essentially what happens once a student graduates, we then form a group of 6 to 8 people. That 60 group of people includes software engineers, back end, front end, couple of those, cybersecurity specialist, data analyst, and a quality assurance. All of those are students from different career pathways. We put them all in a group. We attach a project manager to it, and we give them a real life or a simulated project to work on. Now, we do work with some partner companies, like real life companies, who come to us and say, "Oh, we need an app for our solution," or something like this, and then we take their project, or is sometimes if we don't get enough, for example, of those real life company projects, then we give a very what would be like a really realistic, let's say, fintech example or health tech example, and we give them this task to work on for 8 weeks. They have daily stand-ups, they go through all the agile motions. In that process, they learn some insights into the industry. Their app that they're building out is, the regulation or whatever it may be, the frameworks and so on. And they most importantly learn how to work in the team. They see how the real life processes look like, and at the end of those 8 weeks, they will then do a demonstration. They will do a demo and they will show exactly what they've built. And our cybersecurity guys, they build out the whole blueprint for cybersecurity. They do risk analysis and they do all these different motions that in real life you would have to do when you're building out a product, essentially, or a feature. And they present that. Some of those students even get employment offers from the real life projects. And this is something that gives them at least an equivalent of, let's say, 6 months work experience at a minimum. And a lot of people, when they just graduate from a course or university, they wouldn't even get that experience for God knows how long a lot of time. So we give them that immediately after the graduation. They go 8 weeks, then they can also do this certified ethical hacking and so on and so on. They get all those certifications, but most importantly, it's the hands-on practice that we're mostly proud of.
And full disclosure, Five Eyes Ltd is using this program for our business, so we're doing that as well. We have glommed on to their Coding Temple's idea for this and said, hey, maybe you can help us with some stuff. So we got free labor for a couple of weeks. So we appreciate that, obviously. So it's a great program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so if any company hearing this say, hey, that might be something I'd be interested in. How do they get in touch with you? Who they should contact to find more information out? And I'll post your email and some other stuff in the show notes. But how would people get with you guys to say, hey, that might be useful for us?
Absolutely. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. Can hit me up on LinkedIn, or Darren, you can give my email,
Okay.
whichever it is. But yeah, I'm always looking for employer project. This is something that not only benefits employers, of course, because like you said, yes, you get free labor, you get interns working on it. But from my side, the most important thing for me is that my students get exposure to real practice and to potential real employment opportunities. This is something that is the most invaluable, and a lot of time, no matter how much money you pay for universities, you won't necessarily get that. So that's a really big highlight for us.
So one of the things I think, in addition to the labor gap, right, just not being able to find cybersecurity people, I think another big area that's a gap, and I think you and I have talked about this in the past, is leadership. Like, there's just not a lot of cyber leadership either, and so finding people to run teams and to do those things is very hard as well, in addition to the other stuff. So has the Coding Temple thought about employing or deploying some kind of leadership piece to your curriculum? Has that been thought about? Or
Yeah, so soft skills is something that is at the forefront of our all the thoughts and roadmap planning and everything. And it's actually something that we weave into our programs. So right now, firstly, for the general core program, we have a requirement for every single end of module project to be presented live or in a video format, but something that where people can actually practice to talk about their work, and to also, well, we encourage to present it live to their peers so that they can practice, communication skills and that. Another thing we've just rolled out is community-based learning and practice. So with that, the leadership skill is going to be one of the biggest ones that we focus on. Because any student that goes past certain amount of the course or when they graduate, they can enter our internship kind of motions, and in that they will get they'll get access to become a group coaches, essentially kind of TA experience. So that drives leadership very much. Now, so this is for all our core programs at Coding Temple. There's another side of the coin here. Coding Temple recently acquired another couple of companies. We merged with App Academy and also HTD Talent. Now, HTD Talent is essentially what is as a custom talent solution for tech space. In that HTD Talent Motions, what we do is it's kind of in between recruitment and training and talent deployment. So we take people now, that side of the business work not just with junior talent, we also work with mid-level and more senior talent as well. And that company, HD Talent, they have quite a few clients, Fortune 500 on their list. Work with a few of those, and essentially any customer that comes in, they give us the requirements, whatever the skills are, whether it's soft skills, hard skills, whatever frameworks, industry, we train people up on that, and then we deploy them into the businesses. So that skills gap for any level talent is closed with HD Talent.
That's awesome. So hopefully people listen to this podcast for stories, because Mike and I tell stories about our time in the FBI or in UK intelligence, whatever. So tell us a story from Coding Temple where someone came in with no experience whatsoever and now are thriving in some kind of cybersecurity role.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to mention names because I don't have the students.
That's fine. Yeah, you can make up a name. No one's going to know. That's all good.
So let's say Rita. we had a student. She graduated actually towards the end of last year. And the girl, she was working in hospitality all her life. She was in her mid-30s. Well, she is in her mid-30s. And she's been working in hospitality for a very long time. And when she came into our program, her confidence levels and everything she was really shy and a very kind of closed personality and all that kind of stuff. But with our kind of career motions and with all our curriculum and workshops and presenting and stuff like that, she actually grew into quite a confident person. And then, just like I was mentioning before, she got her foot into a door in a big fintech company, and as IT support specialist. And after that, she's just a few months ago, she let us know that she actually finally got into the next, kind of into the cybersecurity track now in that fintech company. So we're super happy for her. But like I say, we have lots of examples from people who come from trucking industry, from I don't know, even marketing and all sorts of things. And that's the thing now, that with AI, the requirement for all the cybersecurity is growing exponentially. And whilst a lot of people say, oh, job market is shrinking, on the one hand, yes, it's getting more difficult. But on the other hand, new opportunities are opening up, and you just need to be creative. If you're coming from any different environment, if you're a career changer, you need to find those interchangeable skills that you can apply, and your industry knowledge can be irreplaceable, and layer that in with all the new skills you learn, and you can have a very future-proof career plan.
Well, especially if you go whatever industry you're coming from and you get the cyber skills, you know what the industry needs. So you go back to the industry and say, look, I can now help you secure, like the lady with the hospitality. She could have gone back to Marriott or Hilton. Maybe she'll eventually will, and say, look, you guys, your cybersecurity stinks. Here's how you can fix it. So hire me as a CISO. That'd be great.
Exactly.
So what's the average age of a Coding Temple student?
Between 30 and 40.
Oh, wow. Okay. So these are people well into some other established. So you're not getting high school. You get high school students every once in a while, or do they not even come to you?
We get occasionally, not majority though. Like I say, we do get between 20 to 30. We get some, and then 30 to 40 is our biggest bulk.
I got you. So how is AI and machine learning and all that stuff going to change what you guys do? Have you found, have you, I assume you're incorporating it in, because you talked a little bit about it earlier, but how are you addressing the future, I guess, for what Coding Temple does?
Very great question. So it's still, I think everyone still needs to figure out how that future will look like. And it's very
Mm,
difficult to say because it changes every day. And now there are a few different kind of schools of thought. One, that AI is going to take over the world and exponentially will just change everything. And there's another idea that it's kind of maybe plateauing a little, and we don't really know if the pendulum swing is going to swing back. So there's two different kind of thoughts. But one thought that we totally adopt in our, at least in careers motions and across the board, actually, a coding temple everywhere, if you're a cybersecurity specialist who just has knowledge in the conventional cybersecurity, you have a certain chance of landing a job and you don't know any AI. If you just know AI but not much cybersecurity, you also have a certain amount of chance to land a job. But if you know both of them, you're going to shine anyway. You're going
mm,
to stand out. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to prepare our students for this from the very first moment. In the past, for example, using AI in your assignments was a complete no-go, was totally banned, and it was across the board. Well, now we changed our contract, changed rules. Of course, use AI, but to the point where you don't completely rely on it and you still think about the work that you do. Use it as a tool, not as a replacement for your work. So we encourage use of AI for getting things done faster, but as long as people get and understand the basics in the first place. And then, so the curriculum is layered in every single module with different AI methodologies and tools. And we also continuously speak to employers. We run market research continuously. We're very close to all the trends. And as soon as kind of a new technology comes out or something becomes top of mind for the industry, we then get our curriculum development on the job and we implement new modules, new specializations. We adapt our assignments, and so on and so on.
So that made me think of a different question. So, you're the coding temple, right? So you're teaching kids how to code, or people, not kids, adults, how to code and do stuff like that, right? So what about, where do you guys come down? I know you just mentioned, you can't rely on AI for your work, but vibe coding obviously is a thing where you could go to Replit and say, I need this, and it will code it for you to a certain extent, right? How have you found the vibe coding tools to be? Are they good, bad, or otherwise? And I assume that's part of the things you're incorporating into what you guys do. Or are you avoiding that piece? I mean, you use ChatGPT to answer some questions if you have, but as far as how do you come at it from a coding perspective where you have these AI modules that'll just code it all and you can just pull the code and then you say, okay, I'm 90% of the way there. I just got to fix this 10%.
Yeah, that's a great question. And to be honest, I've played around with vibe coding with Replit and all that myself. And
Mm-hmm.
there's you can get it done to a certain degree, just like you said. If anyone's listening to this call, try to do this Stripe integration with Replit. You probably got a few gray hairs from that. At least I did. Right. So yes, you can only get to a certain degree with those. They're absolutely incredible for doing mock-ups of, let's say, new products. We use it heavily in our product development cycles. In here, this is like I say, mock kind of use is great for this. But in terms of weaving into our curriculum, we're not touching that. Well, not right now, and I don't think we will, simply because, like I say, with Replit, with all the vibe coding, to build out robust applications and to build robust products, you need to understand what's happening under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you get stuck in loops. Otherwise, the whole infrastructure is not properly sorted out. There's all sorts of vulnerabilities and all that kind of thing. So whilst it's great and it has certain uses, we're not actively creating courses on vibe coding. There's a lot of people doing that and showing people how to do it, but there's numerous examples out there in the world where platforms got with vibe coding to a certain level and then something went terribly wrong, and people will need to know all the coding, will need to know the actual basics for it to be able to do robust systems.
Well, it seems like you guys would create your own. That should be like, you should get one of your cohorts that have graduated and said, hey, now we need you to create a vibe coding LLM for us to stick into our back end, and then you could have your own vibe coding thing internally.
Oh yeah. Look, we're definitely thinking about what projects we can give ourselves to our students in the tech residencies. Yeah.
So what advice do you give for businesses that are looking for cybersecurity talent? Like when they come to you and say, hey, we need cybersecurity people. Do you at least guide them on here's what you probably think you need? Are they even asking that? Are they even smart enough to ask you that question?
There's two different types of clients come to us. Some clients come to us and say, we need a cybersecurity specialist who has 10 years experience, knows ABCD, and knows my industry inside out. And to this type of client, we say, well, we then refer them to HTD talent, and then they can go through the motions. They can take different kind of different requirements and create training programs for them, so we can cater for that. But then there's another side, people who don't know necessarily exactly, like you said, what they're looking for. So then we advise them to, one, sometimes we even advise them to go and find a consultant who can have a look at their systems and what they've got, and then decide exactly what they need. We also sometimes offer to take one of our students as an intern, one of our alumni as an intern, so that they can give a high level risk assessment and all that kind of stuff. So we try to give them different opportunities. But there's another type of person who comes to us and they're like, they want a really experienced talent, and they don't even look at junior talent who has no experience. But then we kind of educate them and say, okay, well, maybe have a look at a person who's not had lots of experience, but they've got all the theory knowledge, they know the AI motions, and they've also gone for tech residency. So they have worked in a team, and they have built within a team, and they have built a real life project, and they know what they would need to be looking for, and that will save them cost, and also will build them a pipeline of mid-level talent. In the industry right now, there's a big concern, particularly about mid-level talent, because everyone is looking for the unicorn, someone who has all the experience in the world, and they're really expensive, like charge-wise and stuff. So either that, or and it's very difficult for junior talent to even get in the door. For people to eventually grow into senior roles, they need to start somewhere, but right now it's getting more and more difficult for people to start somewhere. So I think for the benefit of kind of greater good in the cyber industry overall, employers should be looking at people who don't necessarily have that experience, but who have gone through a robust and tested and time tested boot camps, where they also get practical experience, and give a chance to those people, mold them. It will be less costly to begin with, but those people will then know your company from inside out, and they will naturally go through the progression of, mid-level and then going into senior.
Well, plus, especially if the folks coming out of Coding Temple are older anyway, they're mature as it is, as opposed to a college student who just got out and expects to be given the world in their first job. Someone who's coming out of Coding Temple and has some worldly experience can be like, I just want to get in, and they're probably willing to do the things that perhaps a spoiled college kid won't.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I say, I work with a lot of people who go into the careers motions and say, they even come to me and say, look, I'm old, I'm never going to get a job. But I'm like, but no, employers really, and some employers do see that benefit for sure, of experience, of, grit and resilience, and all of these things combined now with previous job, even the job, ethics, work ethics come with experience more than anything. So yeah, employers definitely should be open to that.
So if someone is in an industry they don't like and they want to get into cybersecurity, how do they get in touch with you or Coding Temple? What's the route to get in?
Yeah, so people can absolutely contact me on LinkedIn if they're interested. They can Google Coding Temple, and on our website there's a place where you can contact our admissions. But I'm very happy to chat through with anyone who are thinking about getting into tech, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's software engineering, whatever it may be. I'm very happy to have a chat, to get some advice, to talk about what the industry is like, to talk through people's experience and how they could adapt that experience and how they could apply that going forward.
Can you talk about the expense of what it is to do that here, or would you rather have that in the personal conversation?
So there's a variety of different products that we offer, and the price range is huge. It goes anywhere from a few hundred bucks. We're actually rolling out a new product that's going live next week. It's called Gig Pro. And now, so this is our cheapest product, but this is a product we're kind of putting a lot into, and we really believe in it because um in well right now like I say, people are it's getting quite difficult for people to find jobs and so on and so on, but what people can start getting money on fairly quickly and quicker than getting into a full-time role is trying to pick up different gigs on platforms like Upwork. There's multitude of different
And
ones.
Fiverr and all those places. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of time people don't know where to start. So what we're doing with our Gig Pro product, essentially, we're getting people in, and they have two different courses to complete at the same time. One course will be like cybersecurity, let's say core, and through going through that course, they will then eventually get the security plus specialization. But in every module, you learn a certain skill. And at the end of each module, we will link you to different projects on places like Upwork and Fiverr that you could pick up there and then with that skill that you just learned. So you essentially start earning right away. And the parallel course that they're doing is how to get your profile ready, how to market yourself, kind of how to bid for jobs, and how to do all that stuff. So this is kind of our new launch that's coming next week, and I highly recommend people sign up for that, because I think it's gonna, like I say, it's not something that you need to do for 6 months, then you graduate, then you look for work, and eventually you get into that. Of course, we still have that product as well, and it's different things for different people. So that course is kind of our mid-range, and then we have our top range for software engineering. We have live classes, so that's the most expensive one.
And you can find out
But
all about.
the
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, all the prices are on the website.
Gotcha. Oh, okay, there you go. So then you go to codingtemple.com to get all of this information. You can go find Ruta on LinkedIn. You can probably find her on codingtemple.com as well. But I highly recommend you reach out if you're looking to change your career and get into cybersecurity, because we need the people. Then check out the Coding Temple, codingtemple.com, to get you quickly into that. Ruta, I apologize. Mike was still traveling. He wasn't able to be here, so you got stuck with me the whole time. So sorry about that. It was probably more boring than it could have been with Mike here. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing. This is great information. I look forward to working with you and your folks moving forward.
Of course. Thank you so much, Darren. And another little piece of advice I'll give to all the people who want to get into cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And this is, Darren, how I actually found and got in touch with you, I think, as well, and Mike, is through LinkedIn. If you are wondering what career to get into, cybersecurity, in my opinion, is one of the most lucrative careers to get into overall right now. That's just my personal opinion. But cybersecurity, cybersecurity professionals are so willing to help other people get into cybersecurity, and they generally are so passionate about what they do. So reach out to people like Darren, like Mike on LinkedIn, and have chats with them, because this is where you're going to get incredible insights and going to be very motivating and going to help you decide kind of your career track. So overall, cybersecurity community is absolutely incredible, and I couldn't advise more people joining it. And to be honest, I'm even getting my 14-year-old on the cybersecurity train right now myself.
That's awesome. And I totally agree with that. If you want information from cybersecurity people, find them on LinkedIn. They're happy to talk to you. Just don't DM them and say, can I build you your website? Can I do your SEO? Don't pitch slap them when you call. Say, hey, I like what you're doing. I like to talk about what, I mean, I'm happy to I have virtual coffee with people quite a bit where I can, but I mean, it's more of a, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's what do you do, and let's find out what we do and where can we work together. So that's the value of LinkedIn. There's certainly a lot of stuff that makes it a pain in the ass, though, too. So there is that.
Awesome.
All right, Ruta, thanks again. We will be in touch soon with the little project we're working on. But I thank you for coming on, the Kingsman and the Cyber Guy. For everybody else, know that knowledge is protection. If you can understand the threats targeted, you can assess your risk. Proceed wisely. Thanks again for listening. Check out thecodingtemple.com. Find Ruta or myself on LinkedIn, and we will talk again next week.